The title of the Gosho is "The Votary of the Lotus Sutra Will Meet Persecution." Let's first listen to the background of this Gosho. Nichiren Daishonin wrote this letter on Sado in 1274 to all his priest disciples and lay followers, including Toki Jōnin and Saburō Saemon-no-jō, Shijō Kingo. Although the government issued a pardon a month later, the Daishonin was still being treated as a criminal, a fact evident from the orders issued by Hōjō Nobutoki, the constable of Sado, quoted toward the end of this letter. The postscript to this letter contains an early reference to the three great secret laws, the object of devotion, the sanctuary, and the invocation or Daimoku of the essential teaching. Neither Shakyamuni Buddha nor any of his successors in India, China, and Japan ever revealed them. These three form the core of the Daishonin's Buddhism. Among the extant writings, both originals and copies, this is the first in which the Daishonin mention the sanctuary, listing the name of each of the three great secret laws. In closing, the Daishonin declares that he is the votary of the Lotus Sutra in the latter day of the law who inherits the lineage of the votaries, Shakyamuni, Tiantai, and Daimyo. Now listen to the Gosho. The fourth volume of the Lotus Sutra states, "Since hatred and jealousy, toward this sutra, abound even when the thus come one is in the world, how much more will this be so after his passing?" The fifth volume says, "It will face much hostility in the world and be difficult to believe." The 38th volume of the Nirvana Sutra states, "At that time there were countless non-Buddhists. Their hearts gave rise to fury." It also says, "At that time there were innumerable non-Buddhists who plotted together and went as a group to Ajatashatru, the king of Magadha, and said, 'At present there is a man of incomparable wickedness, a monk called Gautama. O king, you have never examined him, and this arouses much fear in us. All sorts of evil people, hoping to gain profit and alms, have flocked to him and become his followers. These people do not practice goodness, but instead use the power of spells and magic to win over men like Mahakashyapa, Shariputra, and Maudgalyayana.' This well illustrates the meaning of the passage, 'Since hatred and jealousy, toward this sutra, abound even when the thus come one is in the world.'" The preceptor Takuitsu reviled the great teacher Tiantai Chi-che, saying, "See here, Chi, whose disciple are you? With a tongue less than 3 inches long you slander the teachings that come from the Buddha's long broad tongue that can cover even his face." Takuitsu also said, "Surely Tiantai must be perverse and insane." More than 300 priests, including the prelates of the 7 major temples in Nara such as the supervisor of priests Gomyo and the discipline master Keishin, hurled abuse at the great teacher Daimyo, saying, "Just as in a land west of China there was a Brahman named Demon Eloquence, so now in this eastern realm of Japan there is a shave-pated monk who spits out crafty words. Evil spirits invisibly invite such people to deceive and mislead the world." However, Daimyo states in his outstanding principles of the Lotus Sutra, Shakyamuni taught that the shallow is easy to embrace, but the profound is difficult. To discard the shallow and seek the profound is the way of a person of courage. The great teacher Tiantai trusted and obeyed Shakyamuni and worked to uphold the Lotus School, spreading its teachings throughout China. We of Mount Hiei inherited the doctrine from Tiantai and worked to uphold the Lotus School and to disseminate its teachings throughout Japan. During the lifetime of the Buddha as well as the 2,000 years of the former and middle days of the law that followed after his passing, there were only 3 votaries of the Lotus Sutra. They were the Buddha himself, Tiantai, and Daimyo. By contrast, Shan Wu Wei and Pu Kung of the True Word School, Tu Shun and Qi Yen of the Flower Garland School, and the teachers of the 3 treatises and Dharma characteristics schools all interpreted the sentences of the Sutra of the True Teaching so that they accorded with the meaning of the provisional sutras. Scholars such as Nagarjuna and Vasubandhu inwardly grasped the meaning of the Lotus Sutra but did not outwardly speak of it. Not even the 4 ranks of sages in the former day of the law could compare with Tiantai and Daimyo when it came to propagating the Lotus Sutra just as it teaches. If the Buddha's prediction is true, there must be a votary of the Lotus Sutra in the latter day of the law, and the great difficulties that he encounters will surpass those that occurred during the Buddha's lifetime. The Buddha himself underwent 9 great ordeals. He was slandered by Sundari, he was offered stinking rice gruel, he was forced to eat horse fodder, King Viradaka massacred the greater part of the Shakya clan. He went begging but his bowl remained empty. The Braham's daughter Chincha slandered him. Devdatta dropped a boulder from atop a hill, in an attempt to kill him, and the cold wind forced him to seek robes for protection. And in addition, he was denounced by all the non-Buddhists, as I mentioned earlier. If we go by the prediction in the Sutra, that hatred and jealousy will be much worse after the Buddha's passing, then Tian Tai and Dengyo did not fulfill the Buddha's prophecy. In view of all this, it must be that a votary of the Lotus Sutra will appear in the world at the beginning of the latter day of the law, just as the Buddha predicted. In any event, on the 7th day of the 12th month in the 10th year of Bunai, 1273, a letter from the former governor of Musashi reached the province of Sado. The letter, to which he had set his seal, read: "We have heard a rumor that Nichiren, the priest exiled to the province of Sado, is leading his disciples and others in plotting some evil action. His scheme is nothing short of outrageous. From now on, those who follow that priest are to be severely punished. Should there be those who nevertheless still violate this prohibition, their names are to be reported. This is an official order. Priest Kane. The 7th day of the 12th month in the 10th year of Bunai. To Hōjō no Rokuro Saemon-no-jō. This letter reads that I am plotting some evil action. Non-Buddhists slandered the Buddha, saying that Gautama was an evil man. I, Nichiren, have personally suffered each of the 9 great ordeals. Among them, those of my persecutions that correspond to Viradaka massacring the Shakya clan, going begging but being left with an empty bowl, and being forced to seek robes for protection from the cold wind have been great trials far surpassing those that occurred during the Buddha's lifetime. These are hardships that Tian Tai and Dengyo never met. Truly you should know that, adding Nichiren to the other 3, there is now a 4th votary of the Lotus Sutra who has appeared in the latter day of the law. How glad I am to fulfill the words of prophecy from the Sutra. How much more will this be so after his passing? How sad I feel that all the people of this country will fall into the Avicii hell. I will not go into detail here, or this letter will become too involved. You should seriously ponder this. Nichiren. The 14th day of the 1st month in the 11th year of Bunai, 1274, cyclical sign Kai no Inu. All my disciples and followers should read and listen to this letter. Those who are serious in their resolve should discuss it with one another. Postscript. Nagarjuna and Vasubandhu were both scholars who produced 1,000 works. However, they expounded only the provisional Mahayana teachings. Though they understood the meaning of the Lotus Sutra in their hearts, they did not declare it in words. An oral transmission exists concerning this. Tian Tai and Dengyo went so far as to expound it, but they left unrevealed the object of devotion of the essential teaching, the 4 bodhisattvas, the sanctuary, and the 5 characters of Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. Their reasons were, first, because the Buddha had not transferred these teachings to any of them, and second, because the time was not ripe and the people's capacity had not yet matured. Now the time has arrived, and the 4 bodhisattvas will surely make their advent. I, Nichiren, was the first to understand this. It is said that the flight of a bluebird heralds the appearance of the Queen Mother of the West, and that the singing of a magpie foretells the arrival of a guest. In the same way, there are omens announcing the advent of the 4 bodhisattvas. All those who consider themselves my disciples should know that now is the time for the 4 bodhisattvas to appear. Therefore, even if it should cost you your lives, you must never discard your faith. Toki, Saburō Saemon-no-jō, Kawanobe, Acharya Yamato, and the rest of you, gentlemen and priests, should read this letter to one another and listen. In this defiled age, you should always talk together and never cease to pray for your next life. 2. Kawanobe and his people. Acharya Yamato and the others. All of my disciples and followers. Saburō Saemon-no-jō. Nichiren. Respectfully sent to Toki.